There's a bowl of water in someone's home right now, quietly clouding over. No one touched it, no one moved it, but day by day it darkens, and so does the energy in their home. Bills pile up, sleep feels heavier, conversations turn sharp, they wonder why everything feels stuck. If any part of this feels familiar to you, you need to hear what I'm about to say. Because this isn't just about money slipping through your fingers. This is about your home slowly draining the very energy that's meant to protect and nourish you. Today, we go straight into one of the most overlooked yet powerful Feng Shui practices, placing 3 whole cloves in 5 exact spots in your home. Not randomly, not decoratively, but intentionally, so each one becomes a silent guardian of your prosperity. For thousands of years, across empires and temples, cloves have been used not for their scent, but for their ability to transform energy. When placed with intention, they do more than protect your space. They hold your wealth in place, they shield your rest, they keep the good in and the chaos out. In this video, I'll take you through each of the 5 locations, starting at your front door where energy first enters your life. You'll learn exactly where to place the cloves, how to prepare them, and most importantly, why these tiny seeds hold the power to shift your financial flow. You don't need crystals, you don't need renovation, just 3 cloves, a bowl, and a home that's ready to breathe in wealth again. Let's begin. Part 1. Why energy blocks wealth. You walk into your home after a long day and instead of feeling lighter, something sinks inside you. You can't explain it, but the air feels thick, not humid, not stuffy, just emotionally heavy. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful, it's weighted. You sigh, you drop your keys, and maybe without knowing why, you feel more tired than before you walked in. That moment, that quiet heaviness, it's the first sign. Your home may not be holding wealth, it may be holding residue. We often think wealth is only about effort, work harder, manage smarter, plan better. But what if your space is undoing everything you're trying to build? What if the place that's supposed to recharge you is instead quietly draining you? This isn't metaphor. In Feng Shui, energy or Kai moves like breath. It flows, it circulates, and it imprints. Every thought, every word, every emotional exchange leaves a trace. Most people never consider this. They clean the windows, they sweep the floors, but they forget that energy also settles on walls, in corners, in silence. And when it settles long enough, it blocks flow, not just of emotions or ideas, but of money, peace, and growth. Imagine your home as a living system, like a river. When it flows, it's clear, cool, full of life. But let it stagnate, even in one spot, and decay begins. Not all at once, slowly, imperceptibly, until the water starts to smell, until fish no longer come near, until what was once alive simply holds still. That's what happens in a space where energy isn't refreshed. Your intention stops circulating, your opportunities dry up, and without noticing, you stop inviting life in. Now, pause with this thought. Have you ever noticed that some homes feel heavy even when they're beautifully decorated? And others feel instantly calm, even if they are modest? That's not chance, that's not furniture, that's energy, and energy doesn't lie. Here's the paradox: the more we try to add abundance with things, objects, colors, symbols, without clearing what's stagnant, we're layering brightness over shadows, and the shadows remain. It's like spraying perfume into a closed closet. Fragrance might mask the stillness, but it doesn't move the air. In many households, financial stress doesn't start with an expense. It starts with invisible congestion, tension left unresolved, emotional weight unspoken, memories stored in untouched objects. Think about the corners of your home. Not just physical corners, but emotional ones. The chair no one sits in but no one moves. The gift from someone you no longer speak to still hanging by the door. The pile you've meant to sort someday. Each of those holds more than dust. They hold pause, and pause, when unexamined, becomes a block. Energetic blocks don't just feel like discomfort, they become patterns, unexplained bills, restless sleep, fights over small things, opportunities that approach then vanish, clients who say yes then disappear. And because the world doesn't teach us to trace these patterns back to space, we blame ourselves. We work harder, we try to manifest more, we question our luck. And yet we forget to ask, is my home still aligned with who I'm becoming? Or is it filled with echoes of who I used to be? In Feng Shui, the home is an extension of your energy field. It doesn't just reflect you, it amplifies you. So if you're in a growth season but your space is holding still, friction forms. Your home becomes a mirror that no longer shows your future, it repeats your past. And that is where wealth struggles to arrive. Not because it's not meant for you, but because it doesn't know where to land. Think of energy like wind. It must be directed, it needs paths, it needs clarity. And if you want abundance to flow in, you can't block the door with what you've been avoiding. When energy gets stuck, so do you, not because you're lacking, but because your surroundings are still echoing a version of life you've already outgrown. This is where most people look outward, changing jobs, chasing breakthroughs, seeking strategies. But the wisest shifts often begin at home, not with renovation, not with new furniture, but with honesty. What have I allowed to linger that no longer serves me? What conversations are trapped in the walls? What decisions are waiting in cluttered drawers? When we understand energy this way, we stop trying to force wealth and start clearing the space it needs to arrive. Wealth, after all, isn't only money. It's time, freedom, connection, clarity. It's the ability to wake up and not feel heavy for reasons you can't name. It's choosing from fullness, not surviving from lack. So if you've been pushing and pushing, trying harder, yet still feel like life keeps folding inward, maybe the path isn't forward or faster. Maybe it's inward, into the very space you wake in, walk through and return to every day. Maybe the shift doesn't begin with action, but with release. And perhaps, just perhaps, the most powerful way to start moving again is to first let go of what's quietly holding you still. Part 2. The forgotten power of cloves. You've probably walked past a jar of cloves hundreds of times, tucked away in the back of a cabinet, unopened for months, maybe years. They're small, dark, unassuming, and yet in Feng Shui they are one of the most potent energetic tools ever known. It's a quiet kind of power, one you can miss if you're only looking for what's flashy, expensive, or grand. But perhaps that's exactly where we've been misled. We tend to associate strength with size, value with visibility, but real energy work has never needed to shout. It hums, it moves in silence, it listens before it acts. Cloves have been used for over 2,000 years in sacred rituals, royal households, and healing ceremonies. Not because of how they smell, but because of what they hold. Their shape is not accidental. Each clove looks like a tiny nail, grounding, anchoring, stabilizing. In Feng Shui, cloves belong to the fire element, which represents transformation, ignition, and the ability to burn through stagnation. Fire doesn't just light, it clears. And cloves, in their essence, are carriers of that clearing. They don't mask heavy energy, they transmute it. They don't suppress what's old, they dissolve it so something new can take its place. It may sound poetic, but in practice, it's incredibly precise. When cloves are placed in specific areas of a home, they begin to absorb what you no longer need. The remnants of old arguments, the heaviness of unspoken fears, the invisible weight of obligations you've long outgrown. And here's the nuance many overlook. Cloves aren't just protective, they're intelligent. They don't block energy indiscriminately. They filter. They allow what is harmonious to stay and what is harmful to pass. That's a level of discernment most of us wish we had in our relationships, let alone our homes. If you've ever felt like your home holds memories you never meant to keep, cloves help release them. If you've ever walked into a room and felt a chill or a resistance for no clear reason, cloves help dislodge what's stuck. And if you've been doing everything right externally, working, saving, planning, but the energy in your life still feels sluggish, cloves help clear what's been clogging that flow, usually where no one's thought to look. What's fascinating is how many cultures across continents have known this, long before modern science could explain it. In ancient China, cloves were worn as spiritual talismans, sewn into small red pouches and placed above doors or beneath pillows. In Indian traditions, cloves were burned with camphor during cleansing rituals to release heavy karma. In Buddhist monasteries, cloves were used in meditation spaces to keep thought clear and intention clean. And in the Middle East, cloves were more valuable than gold at one time, not for flavor, but for their energetic potency. Even now, science quietly affirms what sages have always known. Clove oil contains eugenol, a compound with powerful antimicrobial properties. It purifies air, lifts mood, and sharpens mental clarity, but those are just surface effects. The deeper value lies in how it shifts vibration, because in Feng Shui we aren't trying to decorate, we're trying to harmonize. And nothing harmonizes quite like an object that exists across all dimensions: physical, energetic, emotional, spiritual. There's also something deeply symbolic about using something so ordinary as a key to such extraordinary change. It reminds us that power doesn't always come from what's new. Sometimes it comes from remembering what we've forgotten. How many times in life have we chased what glitters while the answer was already in our hands? How many times have we assumed change required struggle when in truth it only required presence? When I first began working with cloves, I wasn't taught through books. I was taught through space, through observing what shifted when they were placed with clear intention. I watched homes soften. I watched long-standing arguments quietly dissolve. I watched rooms that had always felt off begin to feel warm again, not because of magic, but because something finally had permission to leave. You see, cloves aren't loud, but neither is clarity, neither is peace. And maybe that's the real lesson. In a world that moves too fast, that craves instant change, cloves offer a different rhythm, one that's steady, subtle, and sustaining. They don't promise instant wealth. They create the conditions for wealth to feel welcome, and that's a very different thing. So as we prepare to explore the 5 key placements in your home, I invite you to hold this perspective close. Cloves are not meant to fix your life. They are meant to remind your space who you are now and who you are becoming. And in doing so, they help your home release everything that no longer fits that future. Part 3. The 5 gateways where to place cloves. Place 1. The front door where energy enters. There's something about coming home and sensing that the house itself already knows how you feel. You turn the key, and before you step inside, something either softens or hardens in your chest. That pause you take on the threshold isn't just physical, it's energetic. It's your body quietly asking, will I be received by peace or by the weight I left behind yesterday? The front door isn't just the architectural entry point to your house, it's the first agreement your energy makes with your space. In Feng Shui, the front door is known as the mouth of Kai. It's where life force enters, not just for you but for your entire household. Think of it less like a door and more like a lung. If it's clear, strong, and intentional, the whole home breathes better. If it's cluttered, congested, or energetically unattended, everything inside strains. And the consequences rarely appear as something dramatic. They show up subtly, like tension rising for no reason, a conversation that turns sharp without cause, or an unexpected bill arriving just when you thought you were financially stable. What enters your space through that front passage influences far more than mood. It shapes the rhythm of opportunity. Most people assume the energy of their home begins inside the home, but that's already too late. By the time something heavy has entered, it's already begun its work. The front door then is not just protection, it's filtration. It decides what makes it in and what gets left behind. It's the first and last guardian of your financial, emotional, and spiritual boundaries. So why cloves? Why place them here? Because cloves, when paired with 2 ancient allies, salt and water, create what Feng Shui considers an energetic trinity. Water absorbs, salt neutralizes, clove filters and protects. Together, they do not repel energy, they refine it. That's a crucial distinction. You don't want to build a wall, you want to create a gateway that welcomes what nourishes and holds back what depletes. The true goal is not to shut the world out, but to choose what comes in. Here's the practice. In a small clear glass, add clean water, a pinch of sea salt, and 3 whole cloves. Place this near the front door, ideally tucked to the side on the floor, or on a low ledge where it can quietly do its work. No need for labels, no symbols, no words. The placement speaks louder than decoration ever could. Over time, you may notice the water clouding. The cloves might darken. This isn't something to worry about, it's something to notice. Energy doesn't vanish, it moves, and sometimes it needs somewhere to go that isn't you. When this mixture is placed with clarity and attention, the shifts are rarely loud, but they are unmistakable. The air near the doorway feels lighter. Interactions upon arriving home feel calmer. The house feels less like a container of noise and more like a living space with rhythm. And yet, this is where the paradox deepens. Because when the doorway begins to protect your space, you may also begin to notice what you've been letting in unconsciously. That familiar visitor whose presence always leaves the room tenser. That habit of checking the news right before entering the house. That pile of shoes or packages or forgotten things crowding the entrance. Sometimes what disturbs the flow isn't evil, it's neglected. It's what we've allowed to become invisible because we see it every day. The role of the front door then isn't just physical. It's symbolic. It reflects how you begin and end your cycles, how you transition from the outside world to your own world, from effort into rest, from public into private. It's the crossing point between giving and receiving. And if that space is murky, it's no wonder that what arrives in your life feels unclear, inconsistent, or slow. The energy you allow in through the front door sets the tone for everything that follows. There's also something deeply grounding in tending to this spot. In not relying on crystals or expensive tools, but using everyday elements with ancient memory. Water, salt, clove, each has traveled across cultures, continents, and centuries, not as superstition but as frequency holders. And what they bring into the present moment is not magic, but memory. The kind of memory your space understands better than words. It's not about believing in ritual, it's about recognizing what your space is asking for and answering it in a language it has always known. As we begin with the front door, we begin not with something glamorous, but with something foundational. Because in Feng Shui, as in life, what's closest to the edge is often what's shaping everything at the center. And perhaps that's the real reminder. Before we chase what's missing, we must first tend to what's already crossing our threshold. Place 2, the living room where energy settles. After the front door has done its quiet work, filtering what enters, softening the impact of the outside world, energy begins to gather. And the first place it gathers is not a room of solitude, but a room of presence. The living room, it's where we speak, laugh, argue, pause. It's the space that holds our daily emotions the way walls hold sound, subtly, without consent, and often without release. If the front door is the breath in, the living room is the lungs. And if the lungs are clogged, the whole body labors. Most people see the living room as functional, a place to host, to sit, to watch. But energy doesn't care about purpose. It responds to presence, and presence in this space is often layered. Joy layered over exhaustion, connection layered over tension, warmth layered over history. Think about how many conversations have happened in your living room. How many words said and unsaid, how many glances exchanged, decisions made, even arguments concluded not with resolution but with silence. This room holds more than decor, it holds residue. And here's what makes the living room uniquely powerful in Feng Shui. It's not just a space where energy accumulates, it's where it multiplies. The way a river pools before rushing downstream, energy gathers here and then continues flowing into the rest of the home, which means the quality of energy in this room influences how every other space feels, even if no one else notices it directly. This room sets the emotional weather of the household, and when that weather is unpredictable, so is your sense of clarity, comfort, and even prosperity. So why cloves here? Why this small, quiet spice in the heart of the home? Because cloves don't just clear, they harmonize. They don't overpower, they hold space. That distinction matters. In a room where many energies collide, the goal isn't control, it's balance. You don't want a sterile space, you want a living one, alive with kindness, conversation, restoration. Cloves help create that kind of aliveness, not by force, but by gentle filtering. Here's the placement. Find a fresh, living element in your living room, a vase of flowers, a healthy houseplant, even a small fountain if you have one. Beside it, place a small dish or bowl with 3 whole cloves. The living element represents ongoing vitality. The cloves act as a soft boundary around it, ensuring that what lingers in this space feeds life rather than draining it. Ideally, choose a spot that receives natural light. Sunlight enhances the cleansing function of both the plant and the cloves. If plants aren't available, a bowl of cloves near the central seating area works too. What matters is intention and location. This isn't about placing something beautiful, it's about placing something listening. And yes, energy listens. It listens to where we gather most, where we retreat to when tired, where guests are received, and where we collapse at the end of the day. It listens to how often the room is used but never reset, and the longer it listens without release, the more it records. That's why people often feel inexplicably restless in their own living room. They've cleaned, they've organized, but something still feels unsettled, because the energy hasn't been cleared, it's been layered. What's left unsaid in a room doesn't vanish, it settles, and cloves placed intentionally allow it to move again. In Feng Shui, balance isn't about perfection, it's about circulation. Energy that stagnates creates weight. Energy that moves creates clarity, and clarity is where prosperity begins. There's also an emotional echo here worth noting, because the living room doesn't just reflect energy, it reflects relationships between partners, parents and children, friends, even with ourselves. The more emotionally honest this space is, the more it becomes a source of quiet confidence. And when energy supports you in this room, you don't just function, you thrive. You communicate more clearly, you listen more openly, you feel safer, not in a dramatic way, but in the kind of subtle way that only becomes noticeable once it's gone. A balanced living room doesn't just change how your home feels, it changes how you feel in your home. And that feeling, ease without escape, presence without pressure, is the most overlooked form of wealth. It's what allows ideas to surface, creativity to return, decisions to come without noise, and prosperity to show up not as stress but as support. So yes, it's just 3 cloves, but placed here near life, near light, and near where your day unfolds, they do far more than sit in a bowl. They listen for what needs to move, and they remind the space how to breathe again. Place 3, the kitchen symbol of wealth. You may not think of your kitchen as a spiritual space. After all, it's where meals are made, dishes are stacked, groceries are stored. But in Feng Shui, the kitchen is far more than a place of function. It is the energetic altar of the home's prosperity, not just because it feeds the body, but because it reflects how well your life can hold nourishment, physical, emotional, and financial. In the traditional understanding of energy, kitchen is the hearth. It transforms raw ingredients into sustenance. But more than that, it transforms outside resources into internal support. It is where energy becomes usable, and that makes it sacred. The state of your kitchen doesn't just affect what you eat, it affects how stable your wealth feels. A kitchen that is neglected, chaotic, or energetically stagnant may not only affect your health, but your finances as well, through unexpected expenses, rising stress, or the slow erosion of motivation. Have you ever noticed that during times of financial instability, the kitchen often feels heavier, meals feel rushed, cooking feels like a chore, appliances break down, groceries spoil faster? It's not coincidence, it's correlation. When the energy in this room is blocked, the cycle of giving and receiving becomes disrupted. Food, our most direct form of receiving, carries the vibration of the space in which it is prepared. And money, too, follows the path of least resistance. If the space tied to abundance is heavy, abundance finds it harder to stay. That's why in Feng Shui, the kitchen isn't judged by style or design, but by clarity. Clarity of movement, clarity of purpose, clarity of energy. And to bring that clarity back when it has dulled, we return to the simplest of tools, 3 whole cloves. Here's the placement. Take 3 whole cloves and place them in the highest cupboard of your kitchen. Not where you reach every day, but where you store what matters. That placement is not random. In energy work, what's placed high represents what you are holding in reserve, what you choose to protect. By placing cloves there, you are symbolically surrounding your stored resources with quiet guardians. You're saying, let what I've worked for be held, not leaked. Let what I've built be blessed, not burdened. Cloves in this position also carry another function. They absorb the subtle stagnation that can accumulate over time in areas we rarely tend to. That dark upper shelf you haven't touched in months, that's where stale energy lingers, not malicious, just forgotten. And what's forgotten in a home often becomes what drains it. The cloves, in their dryness and density, hold that stillness without judgment. They filter, they buffer, they protect. If you want to enhance the practice, you may place them in a small ceramic bowl or cloth pouch, something natural. You may choose to refresh them every 2 weeks, but it's not ritual by rule, it's ritual by rhythm. You'll know when the energy shifts. You'll feel the difference in how you cook, in how your meals feel, in how money begins to hold still, no longer slipping out through the cracks of urgency or distraction. What's profound about tending to the kitchen this way is how quickly it reshapes your relationship with wealth. Wealth, after all, isn't just how much you earn, it's how safely you feel resourced. A protected kitchen often leads to more grounded decisions, less impulsive spending, and more harmony around food. And when food becomes a celebration again, not a stress, you begin to reclaim the most fundamental expression of abundance. There's a truth that often gets overlooked. Money and food are energetically similar. Both are forms of intake, both are tied to survival, and both, when prepared or received in fear, carry that fear into the body. So when the kitchen holds peace, meals become medicine and money begins to follow the same frequency. In some traditions, women would hang cloves near the cooking area to bless the meals with protection. In others, cloves were used during important family rituals involving food, as symbols of fertility and flourishing. This isn't nostalgia, it's remembrance. The kitchen has always been where prosperity is not only prepared but preserved. And when you treat it that way, with subtle acts of intention rather than dramatic displays of control, it begins to respond. So yes, it's just 3 cloves on a shelf you rarely see. But in the quiet corners of energy, that's often where the biggest shifts begin. Not with noise, but with the choice to protect what nourishes you most. Place 4, bedroom where you recharge. There is a moment every night, quiet, almost sacred, when you cross from the noise of the world into the stillness of your bedroom. You turn off the lights, pull back the covers, and hope the weight of the day won't follow you under. But sometimes, even in the dark, your mind keeps turning, your body rests but never quite releases. You wake up tired, the air feels thick, you slept but you didn't recharge. And the question lingers, why? In Feng Shui, the bedroom is not just where you sleep, it's where your personal energy field recalibrates. It's the most intimate space in the home, the one place where your subconscious remains exposed, unguarded, and impressionable. What surrounds you here doesn't just shape your rest, it shapes how you rise. If your bedroom carries energetic clutter, so will your dreams. If it holds unresolved tension, your body will tighten. And if the space is stagnant, even hours of sleep won't translate into renewal. Unlike the living room, which reflects the household's collective mood, or the kitchen, which mirrors abundance, the bedroom reflects your relationship with yourself. If this space is noisy, even in silence, you may find yourself constantly agitated, distracted, or emotionally fatigued. And over time, that fatigue doesn't just stay in the body. It bleeds into decision-making, financial flow, and emotional resilience. So how does a simple clove become a tool for deep restoration? Because cloves don't just cleanse space, they create energetic boundaries, and no boundary is more essential than the one between your rest and the world. While you sleep, your system moves into a receptive state. This is where healing happens, memory processes, insight emerges, and also where unprocessed energy lingers closest. If your sleep is fragmented, it may not be from stress alone, it may be from the energy your bedroom still holds. Here's the ritual. In a clear glass of water, add a small pinch of sea salt and 3 whole cloves. Place this glass beneath your bed, close to where your head rests. This specific position is vital. It aligns with the area most affected during sleep, your mental and emotional field. In this trinity, water, salt, clove, each component works with quiet precision. Water absorbs the ambient emotional charge. Salt stabilizes and purifies. Clove forms a shield, subtle, invisible, but steady. Together, they create a kind of nighttime sanctuary, not dramatic, just deeply effective. What you may begin to notice after a few nights isn't always immediate. The air feels lighter, the dreams become clearer, mornings feel less rushed even when the schedule hasn't changed. It's not a shift in time, it's a shift in quality. And that's what rest truly means, not duration but depth. There's also a deeper message here. Many people assume their exhaustion comes from doing too much, but often it comes from carrying what's no longer yours. The bedroom, when left energetically unattended, becomes a storage room for invisible weight, old conversations, regret, resentment, self-judgment, unspoken grief. The bed becomes not a place of release, but a place of replay. And cloves, placed with care, begin to unravel that pattern. They don't fix, they don't heal, but they allow, and sometimes permission is the beginning of everything. You might wonder why such a tiny ritual matters so much. Why cloves of all things? Because in Feng Shui, the smallest detail placed with intention shifts the largest currents. This isn't about doing more, it's about aligning what already exists. When your bedroom becomes a space of energetic clarity, your body remembers how to repair itself. Your spirit relearns how to rest. And in that rest, your life becomes responsive again, not reactive. It's worth noting that in many ancient cultures, sleep wasn't seen as a break, but a bridge. A place where guidance was received, not just dreams, where energy re-entered the body clean, and every element in the room, from the mattress to the direction of the bed to what's under it, was chosen carefully. The modern world may have forgotten that, but your body hasn't, and the cloves beneath your bed, they're simply helping your system remember. Over time, you'll know when to refresh the ritual. The water may turn cloudy, the cloves may soften. This is not something to fear, it's something to honor. It means the space has been doing its work. When you replace them, pour the old mixture outside your home, not down the sink. This symbolic gesture releases what's been absorbed back to the earth, far from where you lay your head. Restoration is not a luxury. It is a requirement for clarity, creativity, and abundance. And when your bedroom is protected, sleep becomes more than recovery. It becomes a return to self, to center, to peace. Place 5. Bathroom where energy drains. Every home has places of entry, but just as important, often more so, are the places where energy leaves. The bathroom in Feng Shui is not simply a space of cleanliness. It is a space of release, of elimination. And because it holds that function at a symbolic and energetic level, it also becomes one of the most common places where abundance quietly escapes, without resistance, without noise, and often without awareness. You've probably never stood in your bathroom and thought about prosperity. That's not where our minds usually go. We associate the space with function, not frequency. But the truth is, what we flush away physically often mirrors what flows away energetically. And when a space is constantly pulling energy out, water draining, air ventilating, waste being removed, it creates a vacuum. Unless that vacuum is consciously sealed, it doesn't just remove what's no longer needed. It can begin to pull away what you've worked to build. In homes where the bathroom is energetically unguarded, the effects show up in ways most people never connect. Money comes in but doesn't stay. Plans gain momentum but fizzle before completion. Focus drifts, motivation fades. It feels like you're doing everything right, but results keep slipping through unseen gaps. And one of those gaps may very well be the one you walk into several times a day, thinking only of function. So how do cloves play a role here? How does a spice, so gentle in appearance, counteract such a persistent energetic leak? Cloves, by their nature, are stabilizers. Their aroma is grounding. Their structure is dense, concentrated, purposeful. When placed near sources of energetic outflow, they serve not as stoppers but as filters. They allow the necessary to leave while guarding what must remain. This is not about blocking, it's about boundary. And that distinction is essential. Here is the practice. Place 3 whole cloves in a small ceramic or glass dish. Set the dish in one of 2 places, either near the toilet or beside the bathroom sink. These are the areas where outflow is most concentrated. The cloves don't need to be visible to every guest. Their power isn't in display, it's in presence. They simply need to be there, quietly holding the line. To support this energetic protection, 2 small habits carry surprisingly deep effect. First, always close the toilet lid before flushing. Second, keep the bathroom door closed when not in use. These actions may seem insignificant, even arbitrary, but energy, like water, follows the path that's open. And when doors are left ajar and lids left open, there's no boundary between your sanctuary and the space designed to remove. Over time, that openness doesn't just affect the room, it affects the home. There's also a spoken element to this ritual, one that aligns with the voice of intention. When you enter the bathroom, you may gently repeat a quiet phrase. What no longer serves me flows away. What nourishes me remains. It's not a command, it's a reminder, not just for the space, but for yourself. Because the bathroom doesn't only hold physical release, it often holds emotional one too. The sigh you let out, the tension in your shoulders, the moment when you finally exhale after holding it together all day. That's energy. And if it's not anchored, it scatters. Cloves act as that anchor, not rigid, not forceful, just present, just enough. And when paired with awareness, their effect becomes amplified. You'll likely notice the subtle changes first. Less restlessness, fewer random expenses, a lighter feeling after showering or brushing your teeth. Not because anything externally dramatic has shifted, but because something internal has begun to feel protected again. Over time, as with the other placements, the cloves will show signs of use. They may darken, become soft, or lose their scent. When that happens, gently replace them. And as always, dispose of the old cloves outside the home, symbolically returning what they've absorbed to the earth, far from your energetic field. What's powerful about this placement is not its size, but its implication. It suggests that every corner of your home, even the most overlooked, contributes to the flow of your life. That wealth isn't only about attracting more, but about allowing less to leak away. The bathroom reminds us that release is healthy, but loss is optional. And with the right care, what flows out doesn't have to take more than it should. In Feng Shui, there's a quiet reverence for the balance between in and out, gain and let go. And the bathroom, when honored instead of ignored, becomes not a place of loss, but a place of cleansing. A space that knows how to remove what no longer belongs without touching what still holds value. That's what 3 cloves in a dish can protect. Not your fortune itself, but the fragile energetic conditions that allow your fortune to stay. Part 4. Why this works energetically and emotionally. You've walked through 5 spaces, 5 placements, 5 moments of intention, and maybe by now a quiet question has surfaced, not out of doubt, but out of reflection. How can something so small actually shift anything real? It's a fair question. We're taught that real change requires force, speed, complexity. That effort must be visible, that results must be measurable. But energy, and especially the energy of a home, doesn't respond to force. It responds to frequency, to intention, to alignment, and what's subtle to the eyes can be commanding to the field that surrounds you. In Feng Shui, space is not just where life happens, it's where life is mirrored. The rooms you walk through each day do more than shelter you, they store you. They hold your conversations, your thoughts, your pace, your patterns. And like any container, if they aren't cleansed or rebalanced, they begin to echo what's been lived too long. Stale energy doesn't just sit in corners. It begins to define how new energy enters or doesn't. So when you place cloves, quiet, simple, often forgotten, in 5 exact places, you're not inserting magic, you're inserting memory. Memory of what it means for energy to be conscious, for presence to be layered with care. You're reminding your home that you're not just living in it, you're listening to it. And that changes everything. Energetically, each clove becomes a stabilizing agent. It grounds scattered frequencies. It absorbs what no longer belongs. It filters emotion from environment, not because it's powerful in the loud sense, but because it's clear. And clarity is rare in a world that thrives on noise. But beyond energy, there's something deeper at work, something emotional. Because the moment you place a clove with awareness, you're doing something most people forget to do in their own homes. You're tending, not fixing, not redecorating, not controlling, just tending. As you would a plant or a fire or a relationship you don't want to lose, you're saying to the space around you, I see you, I trust you, and I'm ready to meet you where you are. That simple act done 5 times in 5 symbolic locations becomes more than a practice. It becomes a rhythm, and rhythm is what most homes are missing. Not aesthetics, not furniture, not more things, but a rhythm between stillness and movement, clarity and rest, protection and release. These cloves, these bowls, these placements, they are placeholders for something deeper. They are bookmarks in a story you're rewriting, not through change, but through remembering. Emotionally, what this creates is safety. And safety, true energetic safety, is the foundation of prosperity. When you feel safe in your space, your nervous system relaxes, your thoughts become clearer, your choices become less reactive. And wealth is not born from speed, it is born from calm, from discernment, from the kind of quiet inner steadiness that can only grow in a space that's not leaking your life force. There's a line I've carried for years: protect what holds you, and it will hold you better. That's what this is, a protection not based in fear but in reverence, not to block but to bless, not to guard against evil but to remind your home that it too has a purpose. And that purpose is not just shelter, it's alignment with who you are, with where you're going, with what you're ready to receive. These cloves may dry and crumble with time, the water may cloud, the salt may dissolve, but your intention, that stays, that imprints. That tells the space it's safe to clear what no longer fits. And when that happens, when energy begins to move again, gently, naturally, you don't need to force change. You simply allow it in. Final, most people don't realize their homes are quietly mirroring their inner lives until the weight shows up in their sleep, their bank account, or their relationships. They try to fix the symptom, organizing more, working harder, buying tools they don't need, never pausing to ask whether the space itself is aligned with who they are becoming. They walk past the front door never knowing it's the mouth of opportunity. They clean the living room but forget energy lingers where emotions once flared. They cook in a kitchen that holds their meals but not their money. They sleep in a room that doesn't let them rest. And they flush prosperity away daily through a bathroom they've never thought to protect. But when you place those 3 cloves at the entrance, by the plants, above your kitchen, beneath your bed, near your sink, you weren't decorating. You were declaring that peace matters, that energy matters, that the unseen deserves as much care as the visible. This wasn't about superstition, it was about stewardship. Of the 5 gateways through which energy enters, circulates, nourishes, restores, and releases. And through that rhythm, simple, ancient, quiet, you've begun to reintroduce something the modern world has rushed past: presence. So if you feel something has shifted, even slightly, it has. Not because something new has arrived, but because, for once, what needed to leave finally had permission to go.